AI is changing, which we all know this, the way we work, from automating everyday tasks to helping us make sense of big data. But there's one thing it still can't do: be human. And as artificial intelligence reshapes the job market, soft skills like communication, empathy, adaptability are becoming more valuable than ever. So joining us now to talk about the growing importance of those human skills and how you can showcase them in your own career is James Hornick. He's the partner at HIREWELL. James, good morning to you.
Hey, James.
Good morning. Thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely. Thank you for being on the show. What do you feel like? Kind of give us a baseline to kick this conversation off. I find myself asking, ChatGPT more and more stuff.
Same.
Of late, and Caitlin was pointing out kind of during the commercial break, we were talking about empathy. She's like, well, ChatGPT does have empathy. So as a baseline, like, what do we need to be keeping in mind about our human skills with the oncome of AI in the workplace?
Oh, that's a big question. I guess it kind of soft skills versus hard skills. I think that from a hard skill standpoint, in terms of actually being able to do work, you still need people who are highly skilled to know how to do things, because AI makes so many errors. To give you an example, if you're a software development, right? So there's a lot of tools out there that if you are a great software developer, you could spin up a new application, a new piece of software really quick. But if you're not, if you're just a regular person, you can't. Like, I wouldn't be able to actually create like a fully working software application. But I think what people kind of forget, though, is that in order to do that, you also have to be able to check all the different errors and stuff like that it's going to make, which is why someone who's very skilled in one area is able to do it and someone who isn't can't. And that really kind of applies to a lot of things. I mean, that applies to like accounting. You're not allowed to have your books get messed up. There's a lot of things a lot of skills where it's still kind of crucial. But from a soft skill standpoint, it's more important than ever. It's all we got. So what we're seeing a high demand still for sales-based roles, client-facing based roles. Those are the things that are still going to continue to be in high demand because, to your point, empathy, human ability, those are the things that AI just can't replicate.
And what I meant by that was, I asked AI, ChatGPT, a question. I said, should I do this or should I do this? And I provided some details. And the response that I got back, and I think the reason why the lines get blurred is because the way that ChatGPT wrote me back a message was very human-like. Because we're so used to connecting to other humans these days through texting, through emailing. So it feels like there's a human behind it, which is the creepy and weird part, because you get this message back and you're like, oh, that was really good. And in your mind, you're thinking like, oh, this is a person helping me get to this conclusion, when in reality, there's no person behind it. And that's the part that, like, I feel like as humans now, we're going to, if we haven't yet, have trouble connecting and realizing and remembering that this is not a person that you're talking to.
Yeah, and those types of feelings you have that you feel like it's a human they start to fall apart when you start seeing it make errors. Okay. If you ask it more drill down questions and more things more specifically, like the amount of times I've tried to like create a workflow process and it's wrong, and I point out the errors it makes, and it always comes back with, oh yeah, you're right, I didn't think, it gets frustrating, I guess, because the charisma it has turns out to be faker and faker the more kind of detailed and granular you get with what you're trying to work with it on.
At this point in time, that may be the case. When Caitlin was bringing up her example there, it occurred to me, James, that call center representatives, where you are calling in someone on the other end of a phone or someone on the other end of a chat online, like a live chat online, that strikes me as a unique position where hard skills and soft skills kind of come together as one. Do you think that a job like that is going to be replaced sooner than later by AI?
So I don't think the job itself is going to be replaced. First off, there's a lot of CEOs out there that like to make these bold claims about how AI is going to replace everything because it makes them sound progressive and smart and how their company's on the cutting edge. I think it's not going to be nearly as much as what people say. What AI will be able to do well is create agents and workflows to make those people able to handle more, work faster. There's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes, like looking at your production studio there, right? Like I'm on a Zoom, I'm joining you guys today, it's getting recorded. There's a lot of things that have to happen in terms of, okay, you get the transcript, you're going to eventually post it online, you're going to do all these different things. You could get AI to automate that and do all that for you. But that doesn't mean it's not going to have errors that humans have to kind of course correct. But to your point, like a call center type role, the thing that AI can't do is solve unique problems the first time. It's relying on past experiences and data that it scrapes, and that's why roles that are client facing, that do have some sort of strategic element to it, or have you have to solve a problem that a client might have. Like AI can't really do that as well as a human can, because it's always going to be different. There's so many variables every single time.
So the anxiety that people might have, as Anthony just mentioned, losing their job maybe to AI, what would you tell them to calm their nerves, or advice to give them to make them a stronger candidate for a position over AI? I know you mentioned the human aspect, but just speaking to that person right now today that's thinking, oh gosh, in 5 years my job is going to be obsolete.
A few things. First off, in terms of job seeking, nothing beats having good relationships and getting back to networking. Networking stresses people out, I think, because I think when people think networking, they're always thinking, I got to go out and meet random strangers. It really comes back to reconnecting with everyone you already know, people you've met in the past previously, friends, coworkers, making sure you're top of mind with them. In terms of like finding your next job, that's always the winning formula. In terms of how to AI proof your skill set, there are some skills that are, I think, less prone to being replaced by AI. So sales jobs, anything client-facing that has a strategic element to it is a safer play. Anything that's building actual tangible products, so anything in kind of skilled trades or engineering is more safe with it. But then even past that, if you can learn how to use AI and solve problems with it, like companies need those people too. It's not just, don't think of AI in terms of, oh, I know how to use ChatGPT to write a letter or to create an email or something simple, but in terms of how to create that workflow, like I was mentioning, like how to automate the processes in your studio right there, like that takes someone who understands, like that person is invaluable, one who can figure out how to make everyone else more effective.
That's really interesting. So it's not an either-or
Embrace
model.
it.
It can be an and thing. And hey, who can help us leverage this technology even better? Okay. In terms of showing off, let's take the first category, and that is bolstering our human skills. What advice do you have to job seekers to really accentuate those in an interview situation?
I think the key things is being a good listener and asking the right questions. If you're able to, when you said showing off, I always find that to be a little problematic, because when people think showing off, they're just going to talk a lot and talk about everything they know. But really, it kind of comes down, if you're interviewing for a job and this company is having a problem of some sort that they're hiring you to solve, or maybe let's say it's a software company and they're creating an app, and they mentioned they have a lot of users falling off after the first use. A good way of showing off your listening skills, your empathy, is asking more specific questions about that. Like, are they churning users the first time, or is it over the course of a few days, or these people who aren't using your product anymore, do they come from the same area, do they have the same attributes, or like what is it about what are they coming from a traffic source, like those types of things. Asking more specific questions to pinpoint what their problem is shows listening skills, shows a bit of empathy, shows you're thinking about how to solve a problem, as opposed to bragging or about like things you've done previously. But listening skills are real. Demonstrating listening skills by listening and asking questions is definitely the way to go.
Absolutely.
I love that, and actually hearing what they're saying instead of just glossing over and going to what you're thinking of next. I've got a two-part question, because you mentioned and behind you HIREWELL. I mean, to Anthony's point, interview questions that might be asked of you. When is it too far as asking, because this is something I've always learned too, is asking the person questions about themselves. People love to talk about themselves. I feel like that's a good way to go. Also, talking about your own skills. Where's the line there for too far? Like you're getting too personal by asking them too many questions about themselves. And then also like talking about your own skills and your own ability. When is it appropriate and when is it too much?
So if you're the company hiring, doing the interview, you're asking?
No, the interviewee. So like if I'm going to an interview, like I want to ask that employer questions about themselves because I feel like that's a human thing to want to talk about themselves. But I don't want to cross the line with that. Or,
Sure.
And also the other half of it is, talking about my own skills and my ability, but not sounding like narcissistic.
Okay. In a first interview, I probably wouldn't. Your first kind of screen or a first round pass interview, you have limited time and you really have to show that you're the right person for the job. I probably wouldn't ask any personal questions that first interview.
Okay.
If you get to later stages, when you're trying to decide these people, because when you get further along, the second time you talk to someone, that's when I might do it a little bit. Chances are they're going to ask you, like, what do you like to do for fun? And that more kind of opens up kind of an avenue of like asking the same question back, or something like that. I would, if you're trying to decide if this company is like the right place for you, I think there's other things you can ask about their values, why they joined the company. Maybe that's a good personal question to ask because it is personal, but it's what got them to join, why they're still there. Mm-hmm. I would go more that route as opposed to like asking just like, what do you do for fun? I think those questions are fair, but I wouldn't waste the limited time you have in the early stages of the interview process on that when there's better information you can get out of it.
Gotcha.
Okay, one more question before you leave us, James. How much I know there's no typical workforce, but like, are there any industries left where AI does not have its tentacles, or are AI's tentacles basically everywhere now?
It's getting to be everywhere, but it depends to what degree. As I mentioned, manufacturing, anything where you're or real estate, like building real estate and construction, or things where things are actually getting built tangibly, those are the jobs that can't be replaced by AI. That's not to say that those companies couldn't have AI in their back office processes or things like that, but anything where you're building real things. And then I'd say secondarily, any industry where you're not allowed to have mistakes. Like there are AI solutions out there and software out there that benefit like accounting or law. But again, if you're an accounting firm and you're working on behalf of your clients, like you're not allowed to make mistakes. Like you have to have a lot of humans making sure that everything's in double, triple checked. Same thing with law. You can't hallucinate cases out there. You have to actually make sure you're going through your briefs with a fine-tooth comb. So industries where things have to be perfect are the areas where you're safer.
All right, James Hornick, thank you so much talking about this changing landscape. We appreciate it, sir. Come back sometime.
Thanks for having me.
He used the word hallucinate.
Yeah.
I heard that. That's a common one. My friend who's really adept at using AI, that's when they totally go off the rails. That's called hallucination. Is that right? Did I get that right?
That is correct. It happens a lot. The more you use it, you realize it has no idea what it's talking about.
Yeah.
So.
No.
It's just
word to the wise. James, thanks so much.